In terms of splits, you mentioned splits. And so for those who aren't familiar with this term splits, it's really which body parts are you training on which days? Seems like almost everybody follows a weekly workout schedule, although the body, of course, doesn't care about the week, right? Exactly. There's no reason to think that once every 7 days or twice every 7 days makes sense physiologically. It's just the body doesn't work that. But that's the way life is structured. I've seen you discuss, 3 days a week, whole body workouts. I've heard of splits like a pushing one day, pulling another day, legs another day, a day off, repeat. I mean, there's so many variations on this. What are some general themes that we can throw out there? And in order to avoid the huge matrix of possibilities, you have some wonderful content that points to those, and we will in our caption show notes, we'll link out to some of those that are different ways to design splits. But in terms of giving people a logic of how to think about splitting up body parts, what's governing the split? What are the rules and the logic that dictate a split?
For me, the first rule is, will you stick to it? Right? Like because there are I don't particularly like full body splits. I was actually talking to Jesse about that the other day. Like, I don't necessarily like to have to train everything. Now, of course, the volumes will come down per muscle group, but if you don't like to do that and you actually don't look forward to your workout because you're dreading having to do everything and feeling maybe too fatigued by the time your workout's over, or the fact that those generally do take a little bit longer and don't fit into your schedule, I don't care how effective the split is. A split not done is not effective. So you need to find one that fits. So maybe you go into an alternative option like a push-pull legs, like you mentioned. And that could be done either one cycle through the week on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split, or it could be twice in a week. So you're actually training 6 times, where you repeat it, pull, push legs, or however you want to do it with either a day off in between the 3 days or at the end of the 6 days. And again, that actually impacts your schedule. I've broken that down before where it's, if you put it in between the 3 days, it's good because you're giving yourself an extra rest day in between, but it starts to shift that day off every week as we wrap around. So for those guys that were choosing that 7-day schedule out of convenience in our heads, it starts to mess with that off day. So others like to just keep it predictably, let's say on a Sunday, and train 6 days in a row. But that's a better way to maybe group similar muscle actions together, which I think I definitely prefer that, because if I'm going to be training, pulling movements, at least there's a synergy between them. And I feel like I'm looking to achieve one goal that day. And then, quite honestly, you can go back to the bro split days, and those still work effectively. There's a reason why they worked in the past. Like, I think that science shows that there's smarter ways to do them these days. Like, you can come back and hit a related muscle. So you could do, let's say, biceps on one day and then come back 2 days later and do back, realizing, again, synergy between the exercises there. Your biceps are going to get re-stimulated again. So you could figure out ways to make that work. But the thing that I think is effective there is that tends to be one of the ones that people like the most, because they can go in, they get their pump, they feel good. It's pretty solely focused on one muscle group.
Is that the definition of a bro split? One
muscle group a day. Yeah,
I see. So it's very much geared towards strength and aesthetics, really maximizing chest one day.
Probably more aesthetics than strength. Yeah. You're just
hence the bro name.
Right. Yeah, but again, and here I am a science guy, and I could appreciate the benefits of a bro split, especially because, again, like to what end? Whose goal are we trying to achieve here? Theirs or ours? If I'm applying my standards and my goals, or even like athletic ideals, but they just want to get in shape, then it's perfectly fine to do a bro split in that instance, if you're sticking to it again and you're seeing the results that you want to see from it. But they're able to, really keep their focus on one muscle. They get to focus on, look, a lot of times people struggle with the way an exercise feels until their second or third set. Like, they don't have that proprioceptive ability to kind of lock in on an exercise. So spending a few, not only sets on the same exercise, but then doing another exercise for the same muscle group helps them to dial in a little bit better and get more out of their training.
Yeah, that raises a really interesting and I think important question. Early on, when I started resistance training, which was when I was 16 in high school, I got in touch with and I was learning from Mike Menser. Right?
Me too.
So
Me too.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
And Mike was very helpful. Very, very helpful. We got to be friendly.
Except I just read his book. I didn't get a chance to meet him, so I'm jealous right now.
I back then, no internet, I I paid by Western Union type thing to send him some money.
From the back of the magazine.
And then he got on the phone with me, and my mother at the time was like, why is this grown man calling the house? And he gave me a very straightforward split, which was shoulders and arms one day. He had me taking 2 days off and then training legs and then 2 days off and then chest and back, et cetera.
And that's a variation of a bro split too, where you're sort of, breaking them down that way, chest and back or chest and buys,
Yeah, and it worked very well for me. I probably would have, because of my age, I think, and because I was untrained, I think largely untrained, I think it would have grown on many different programs, but it worked very well for me. I eventually just made that an every other day thing. So shoulders and arms, day off, legs, day or two off, because if you hit legs right, at least for me, I'm not training the next day. And then I'm not doing much of anything athletic the next day, and chest and back and repeat and so on. And the reason I found that helpful is I almost always recovered between workouts. The 6 day a week program of push, pull legs, pull legs, to me seems excruciating from two standpoints. One is, at least with my recovery abilities or lack of recovery abilities, I can't imagine coming back feeling fresh. And the other one is, if I'm in the gym more than 4 days a week, I really start to fatigue it about the whole psychological experience of it. Whereas if I'm in there 3 or 4 days a week, in other words, if I put a day off in between each workout, I really want to be there. And I get in there with a lot of fire. And I'm also doing other things on the off days. So I think that I love that you mentioned the split that you'll stick to and that you can bring the intensity to, because I think that that's really important.